Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pete the Planner Show. I'm your host, of course, Pete the Planner. We're a couple of minutes running behind today. Why? Well, because computers are the devil, because sometimes they give you trouble. When we used to do this show on our typewriters, none of this stuff happened. When I say us, I mean Dame. Hello, Dame.
Hey, Pete.
That wasn't frustrating at all.
No, this is going to be the best show ever.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I'm not at all frustrated. Actually, I'm not at all frustrated, but I think you might be a little frustrated.
A little.
Yeah. All right, James. So here's how this show works. We are going to record a show. We're going to have some fun with people on the Facebook Live right now as well. We have not had time to do a pre-production meeting, so people get to see a behind the scenes of what we're doing. All right, Dame. Segment 3 is actually going to be our holiday discussion, right?
Okay.
So everyone on Facebook Live and YouTube, we're going to talk about what we think the holiday season will bring from a financial perspective. We're going to do that in segment 3. So here's some food for thought. Will people spend the normal amount they always spend on people because it'll just make them feel better? It's sort of a catharsis. Will people spend more because they need to make up for what was a pretty crappy year? Or will they really shut down their spending out of fear and arguably prudence? So that's what we're going to talk about in segment 3. So please weigh in on that. I'll take some of your comments. Hello to all the regulars, Danza, Daniel, Levi. Good day. All right, Dame, segment 1, we're going to do that email from the past guest on the show, Raven. It's a made-up name. And segment 2, I have one in my inbox that you haven't seen that I'm going to read, and then we'll do holidays in segment 3, and then just Guam and current events in segment 4. Are you good with that?
Cool.
All right, let's get crack-a-lackin' here. Hello, everyone. Hope you're good. In terms of last week being an upbeat show and the previous 3 weeks being a downtrodden show, I'm not quite sure where this one will fall, although the first 2 emails are fine. The third segment could get a little dark. And then the fourth segment, a lot of the current events aren't so great either. So, but it is what it is. We'll have fun. And I hate when people say it is what it is. Starting the show in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@PeteThePlanner.com. That's askpete@PeteThePlanner.com. And we will answer your question, possibly. And the people who could possibly do that are me, Peter Nicholas Dunn, and my co-host, Damian Andrew Dunn. No relation. He's the vice president of advice at Your Moneyline and Hey Money. Welcome to the program, Dame.
Hey, Pete.
So we got a lot of stuff going on this week. First 2 segments, we were going to answer questions that people emailed us. Segment 3, we're going to talk about the economic impact of the holidays. Like what is going to happen in the 2020 holiday season from a spending perspective. And then segment 4, of course, is biggest waste of money of the week and the news. Hello, Pete and Damian. You helped me sort through my home buying conundrum back in 2018 was when I was on your show as Raven in episode 291 of your podcast. I wanted to update you, and I bought a single family home. It's from 1950 and is a 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,225 square foot, 2-story bungalow that I bought with $148,000 in New Jersey with a $1,010 monthly payment, including insurance, mortgage, and taxes. It's affordable for me. My mortgage is $114,000 at 2.75%. My boyfriend and friend are living with me, so my monthly payment is only $330 after they pay me rent, and we all pay a third of the utilities. 3's company, 4's a crowd. I put that part in. My other expenses total about $400. I'm the only owner of the house. I'm now making $47,000 at my government job, which has been very stable through the pandemic, but I've been taking courses in accounting, which I should finish next year. And then I want to pursue my CPA. I'm hopeful I'll be able to increase my income in the future and be making significantly more in a few years in my 30s. I'm 28 now. Plus, with some side hustles, I make another $4,000 a year right now. Dame, this is, my memory is not one that is considered to be good, but I do vaguely remember this situation from episode 291. My Roth IRA is up to $34,000 now, and I'm maxing it out. And my federal student loans are down to $11,800. These are at 3.5%, when it's not a pandemic. It's funny. After everything I've updated on the house, including new floors, a new roof, painting, and other projects, I have $51,000 left in my HYSA, which is a high yield savings account separate from my retirement savings. A 1-year emergency fund is about 20 grand to me. So what should I do with this other money? After the 0% interest period is done on the student loan, should I just wipe them out? My tuition for next year is only $2,800. My car should be good to go for another 2 to 3 years. Yada, 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 yada. It goes on for another paragraph. But Dame, I think we have what we need to know going forward. So Dame, what does someone do when they put themselves into a brilliant housing situation? They live well within their means. They have an emergency fund. This person, Raven, as we called her on the show, is incredibly stable. And you and I value stability more than anything these days. What is a person like this to do?
Man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around having 2 years worth of emergency fund just sitting there waiting to be used in a very beneficial way. Man, good on you, Raven. That's fantastic. However, you got some opportunities at this point, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because the crux of what we talk about on this show a lot these days is there are people who've been greatly negatively impacted by what's going on with the recession and the pandemic. There are people who have not, but don't have stability. And there are people who have not, but have stability. She is what we call a group 3 around here. And when you're in a group 3, not only is it business as usual for you, it's time to go hunting. It is time to make hay. You choose the idiom you want. It's time to go and really take advantage of your stability.
So there are a few options here for Raven. She could very well start paying down student loans as soon as the little deferment is over with. Start paying down student loans. Get rid of those. Get rid of that albatross around your neck potentially going forward. That way you are able to take advantage of other opportunities that are coming forward to you. Make sure that you're going to be able to take care of that Roth IRA for the foreseeable future as well. If you get a job that you really want to contribute to the 401k or the 403b, depending on what field it is, maybe you could use some of that money to live off of and max fund retirement accounts through your employer for that foreseeable future as well, and draw it down naturally instead of finding one specific thing to throw that money at. So that's another option for you as well. The best part about this is you don't have to rush into anything.
Right.
You've got all sorts of time and flexibility to take advantage of what opportunity you feel best suits you in the future. If nothing jumps up and says, hey, take care of me right now, you don't have to. Sit there, wait, and then take advantage of it when something becomes plainly obvious.
That's the intersection of stability, flexibility, and the avoidance of complacency is where financial lives get really, really interesting. It is a good problem to have that, you've got no one barking up your tree asking for money. You've got no financial stress really, and you're not going backwards. Dame, she added some other elements in here that I skipped that I'm going to add back in now because they are interesting. She said that she's not really interested in contributing to her 401k at work because her company does not match and it's a really high cost option. So that would mean to you and I that a Roth IRA would continue to be a good option for her. However, on some level, yes, we don't like high cost 401ks around here. And whether your employer matches or not actually doesn't really matter to Dame and I. But it is a more tax advantaged way to save. You do get tax advantage by putting more money away, what is allowed through the IRS. So if you exhaust all your other possibilities, that can still end up being a good thing. She does note that, and I sent this to the team this week, there's talk of student loan forgiveness as not only part of the current administration, because it's a bill brought forth by Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, but the Biden campaign has floated the idea of $10,000 of potential student loan forgiveness too. So to your exact point, Dame, there's no hurry, because if that is at all possible, wouldn't you rather that wipe out the student loan debt than your own money? So maybe the lowest thing on my list right now is to wipe out that student loan debt as she starts to look at other options.
Yeah, there's no rush. You've got everything in your advantage here at this point, Raven. If you want to sit and wait and see what comes, to see if there's some relief that's offered to student graduates with student loans, by all means, do it. If you want to chip away just because you feel like it's the right thing to do, I'm not going to stand in your way on that either. But you've got flexibility, you've got time, and to Pete's point, just because your 401k may be expensive doesn't mean there might not be less expensive options inside of it. So a Roth isn't going to give you that much power to save dollar wise. Maybe you could find a couple cheap investments inside of the 401k and just sock away some extra cash too. It may not be the most efficient thing you've ever done with the money, but saving money now is going to pay off big time in the future.
So a big part of the question, though, too, is she's got $51,000 in her high yield savings account and 20 is designated as her emergency fund. She could theoretically move $31,000 of that to be more efficient. And so the question was, does she use it to pay down student loans? I don't think so. I think she can start to get into what is technically called a non-qualified investment account or a brokerage account, low cost index funds. She could use a financial advisor. She could go to an online platform like betterment.com or something like that to begin to learn to invest on a non-qualified basis. And if I were her and I was in this exact situation, that's what I would personally do, is probably open a non-qualified brokerage account. It doesn't have to be with all 30 some $1,000s, but it can be with some of it. So Dame, let's do this. Let's take a break and pay some bills. I always hate when people say that. Anyway, we're gonna pay some bills. We're not. We're just gonna breathe for like 2 minutes and come back. And we've got another question from another listener, and then the holiday discussion. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show. All right, everybody. Yeah, Danza, you make an interesting point. Last week's final segment was a bit dicey with the talk of the horse situation. Dame, I did the Indianapolis Business Journal podcast yesterday that's going to release on Monday. And at the end of the discussion, the host, is a listener to our program, brought up the horse situation.
On their podcast?
Yes, on the air. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, Dame, let me find this other email here. Olivia, my coworker, who shares my email inbox and schedule with me, she's gloriously left this email alone in our inbox so I can find it easily. And there it is. She's the best. Everyone loves Oz. All right. Dame, we're back. We're ready to go. Yeah, Levi, man, Levi's like my conscience. Look at this. Pay some bills. It is what it is. I've become a person I don't like.
You got two of them in one segment. I'm not sure how you live with yourself.
Oh my God, Levi had some great suggestions last week. I don't remember what it was. We were trying to name something, or we were coming up with ideas.
Creepy women.
Who the creepy women? I had several requests for the creepy woman story last week, and no one got that story except my brother, Damian.
All right, hey, give me 10 seconds.
Okay. This sounds like a kid's situation if I've ever heard one. So Damian lives in northern Indiana. He's working from home like many of us. He has a barn, if you will, a shed, a utility building outside of his residence in which he has made into his office. But occasionally he has to go out and be a parent. So Damian, he's putting his head up. Damian, was that a parenting moment?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't hear anything. I was just curious.
No, it was preventative parenting.
Oh, okay. Preventative parenting, and never mind. That's
no.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Back on to the Pete the Planner Show, answering your money questions. As it turns out, you can email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. Hey, Pete, Brian here again. We've got 2 return visitors. The show's so good, we have people email us back, Dame.
That's fantastic.
And I still haven't changed the spelling of my name despite the pressure you've put on me. He spelled it with a Y, and I'm not comfortable with that. My girlfriend and I, both 26, are currently leasing a 1-bedroom apartment in Westchester, New York. Our lease is up in February, and we are starting to evaluate our options for where to live next. We paid a premium to live in our current 750 square foot apartment at approximately $2,600 per month to be right near a train station as I was commuting to New York City daily. Man, I know what he's going to say next. I haven't read this yet, but you know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
However, my office has now been moved out to the burbs due to COVID. There you go. So I'll be working from home half the week and driving to the office the other half. This obviously changes our search criteria as we look for a new place. We definitely want more space given the fact that I'm going to be working from home. So I see our options as to either rent a 2-bedroom apartment or buy a starter home, townhome in the area. All right, Dame, here we go. Brian with a Y is firing up the options here. Option 1, apartment. I think we should get a gorgeous brand. Brian, did you have to throw in gorgeous apartment? I mean, like, come on, buddy. I think we could get a gorgeous brand new. I can't even go on. Like, the show might end. It's too much. It's too much. Okay, sorry. I think we could get a gorgeous brand new 2-bedroom apartment for $3,000 to $3,500 a month. Although, after listening to your last episode about the eviction moratorium, I'm holding out hope that prices will drop in the new year. I think this would be a great solution for us, although it'd be nice to have some more space and even a private outdoor space. Before I read option 2, Dame, I'm all in on the apartment market getting shaken, the rental market getting shaken up big time in January and February.
I did some thinking about this actually fairly recently. If we saw what it was like 40% of renters expect to have some issues
Yes.
around the first of the year. They're not going anywhere. They're still going to need a place to live. So do you think there's just going to be this giant apartment swap that's going to go on, that they're going to get kicked out of one, and because there's going to be so much inventory that landlords are going to look the other way about people getting evicted if they've got the cash, the potential new income with just a slightly lower rent that they can afford?
All right, so we promise not to get morose in this show until possibly the third segment. But
that deal's out the window. Yeah,
well, that deal is out the window. Here's 2 things that I think will happen. I think we're going to have a massive homelessness issue in our country related to this. And number 2, I think the issue isn't that people's income or financial reality, renters' income or financial reality will change on January 1st. It's just that they won't be held to task for it until January 1st. And not only will they owe back rent for these 3-4 months that they're not paying rent, but then they're going to owe next month's rent. And that's why landlords are going to try to get someone who can pay in the building. And so that's why they will evict people. It is the one thing financially that scares me more than anything going on right now is the eviction moratorium ending in January. You brought it up.
It's my fault. I'm
Actually,
sorry.
Brian with a Y did.
Yeah,
But it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Option 2, townhome. A townhome in our area is going to run us at least $750,000 with 15% down, 3% interest, and rolling in taxes and HOA fees. The monthly payment would come to around $4,000 a month. I'm hesitant to commit to this monthly payment given the other unknown ad hoc costs of owning a home, such as maintenance, etc. I was then talking to someone who brought up the idea of going into an IO mortgage, given the fact that we do not plan to be in this home for more than 5 years or so. An IO mortgage, of course, is interest-only mortgage. The interest-only mortgage at 3.5% with all the same costs outlined would come to approximately $2,750 a month. So for this lower monthly payment, we could be foregoing any equity accumulation. The big risk I see here is that if property value decreases over our ownership, if the value stays the same, we pretty much rented the house and the value goes up, then great, we made some additional cash. My worry about this option is that the Westchester housing market has been flooded with demand since COVID due to people fleeing New York. Given that prices are up, I think it's a good time to go with the IO mortgage as our risk would be very sensitive to changes in the market. I definitely think renting is the right move at this time. Given everything going on, I would much prefer to buy something. I have a feeling you will tell me it's the same, but maybe it will stick more if I hear it from the best financial literacy advisors Indiana has to offer. Indiana, my knowledge is not held by the state in which I live. I'm sorry. Dame, I love this question so much. How did I let that sit unanswered in my email box for 2 weeks?
I think it's just something that happens.
I know we've had a relationship for a long time. So I hate interest-only mortgages with a passion. They led to the housing collapse of 2008 and 2009.
I don't see, other than a cheaper monthly payment, any advantage to be had for them at this point. Because, okay, so demand's been great in Westchester. Fantastic. We just talked about a huge potential issue where, the people are going to be not in houses and or apartments, and potentially changing demographics of entire towns and cities. And I would not want to be tied into an interest only mortgage thinking the property values are probably going to go up and we'll walk away from this being okay. Brian with a Y, renting is the answer here for you.
I think not only that, Dame, I think he should let things shake out even past February and ask his landlord for a month to month at the end of his rental period, because I'm not sure this situation, he can't lose in the sense that if he waits to rent, it's not like the rental market's going to get more expensive. The last segment, we were talking about flexibility and sort of the freedoms that come with flexibility. This has flexibility in it because he's not up against it. However, I think he needs more time to pass to see how things shake out. February is going to be pretty tight. Does he have to move out February 1st or the end of February? Do you know? Actually, I didn't share it with you because I'm a professional. I want to see if I can find that because our lease is up in February. So that makes me think at the end of February, right?
Sure.
Do you think those additional 28 days are really going to matter? 4 weeks? I mean, we are currently in a time where every 48 hours, I feel like we know more, and then we realize how little we know, and then it stretches out even more.
I think in this specific case, I'd rather have the extra 4 weeks than not have the 4 weeks. Like you said, I don't anticipate there being some incredibly fast recovery in the rental markets for landlords. So there's going to be plenty of inventory out there for him to choose from, whether it's a gorgeous apartment or whether it's just a moderately attractive apartment.
My man is literally watching this segment live right now, and he just
I saw you flash it up there.
And then I always remember, like, we're doing financial stuff, so I don't want to expose people. All right. So Brian with a Y, unfortunate spelling. Here's what I think you should do. I think you should go to your landlord within the next few weeks and just say, look, we understand our leases come up in February, but we're really just trying to get our options. Is a month to month on the table for any reason? Even if the person says no, that's fine. I just, the more time that passes, the better here, Dame.
If you go to your landlord and they say, yeah, a month to month is on the table, but they want to charge you a little bit more, don't take it right away. See if they'll just continue to let you skate on what you normally pay, because there's going to be inventory and they're going to need renters.
Look at you reading that hostage negotiation book, and now you're the big wizard. I love it. No,
I do what I can.
All right, coming up after the break, the holiday discussion that I've been dreading. That makes you want to listen. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the show. I like that situation. The interest-only mortgage give me the hives.
Yeah, in very few situations do I think that interest-only makes some semblance of sense. Once upon a time, you could get away with it because real estate markets were just ridiculous in certain parts of the country, and you could literally be in a house for 12 months, pay an interest-only mortgage, and walk away with equity at the end of it. Just crazy situations.
See, the thing is, he could get away with it. I think it's just accepting a large degree of risk that he doesn't have to.
I think it's unnecessary risk for what you're trying to accomplish.
Everything else he does seems so thought out, and this is thought out. I mean, he's run the numbers. I get that. I think when you start playing with numbers that big, and so the further you get in your career, more risk can enter the equation, and this happens to be one of them. Now, a lot of people will disagree with what we're saying, but let them start up their own radio platform.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, everybody, Facebook and whatnot. Before we start this next segment here, here's the question on the table we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is this holiday season going to look like? Maybe assign percentages of people that do the holiday season and they're spending as they normally do. People who go pedal to the metal to account for their sad feelings throughout the year. So they're going to spend more than normal. Or the third option are people aren't going to spend very much at all because they are scared. And I'm curious as to how not only this affects the consumer-based economy we happen to live in, but just how it affects almost the mental health of Americans as we head towards a time that brings us so much comfort. So, all right, Dame, 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, I'd like to pre-apologize because I am going to do the equivalent of the stores that have candy corn in their aisles in July. That's right. I'm pushing us ahead to the holiday season. I am human candy corn. Peter Dunn, Pete the Planner, joined by Damian Dunn. Dame, so I've been thinking about the holidays this week, and I've been thinking about my personal feeling of the economic chaos that's coming our way in November, December. Whether you share that opinion or not, it doesn't necessarily concern me. I don't think my holiday opinion is affected by my chaos theory of November, December. However, I do think the holidays are going to be an interesting time. People are not going to travel as much. People are not going to dine out and have big, fabulous parties as much. So that's to say some aspect of their spending that gets pumped into the economy will go away. The real question I want to know is, do you think, and you can assign percentages to these 3 groups if you find it to be helpful, will people spend what they normally spend for the holiday season in terms of gift buying and all of this? Will they spend more because they're so frustrated that they want to give their loved ones an enhanced experience at the end of 2020? Or will they spend less out of prudence/fear? What do you think?
I think 10 to 20% of people will spend less.
10 to 20% will spend less.
10 to 20.
Keeping track of the math here.
60% will spend roughly the same, which is probably more than they should anyway.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then the remainder, the 10 to 20% remainder will, I guess it has to be 20%. 20%, 20, 60, 20 will spend more to try and compensate for school changes and sports seasons that were all messed up and not being able to see grandma and grandpa, and that grandma and grandpa are going to make up for it by spending more for their grandkids too. I think this is a season ripe for people making really well-intentioned but horrible financial decisions this year.
All right. I don't like to talk about work on this show, like the work we actually do, for lots of reasons, confidentiality, and the show is not meant to plug the work we do. And I think that's the worst radio ever when people do that. But I want to share a comment. I was talking about this week on a live event that we do for our clients. And someone said, for years, I'm paraphrasing everybody, for years, I felt our family loses control over the holiday, our extended family, that we spend too much on each other for people who don't need anything. So much so that in recent years, my family has adopted a $200 per gift or per person minimum that you must spend on people in the family. And the question was, how do you convince that mentality that it is incredibly misguided?
Who does that?
I don't know. I think you and I have seen a lot financially, and we try not to judge, and we certainly observe and we empathize with people's thoughts, but that's a really tough perspective to empathize with.
Is it the J.R. Ewing's family in Dallas?
It's a timely reference.
It's the best I got, man. I was trying to think of really, I don't know. It was where I went.
Some 48-year-old guy's like, yeah, JR.
Whatever. We reach all demographics.
Barely. Isn't that, I mean, so that's wild. First of all, I mean, I always teeter on, is it appropriate for me to say something is inappropriate? But that seems wildly inappropriate.
You know, there's at least one member of that family that genuinely can't afford to do that.
No way.
For whatever reason, whether it's they're in a bad spot or they just don't make enough money to be able to swing $200, whatever it is, and then they don't want to be there. They feel bad. They feel embarrassed, or they do it anyway, and they know they've got consequences they're going to have to deal with maybe for months afterwards, trying to take care of this token of appreciation that they're sending somebody else. If they're lucky, they get a $200 gift card they can use somewhere else to offset the $200 they spent on somebody else, and it comes out as a wash. But my goodness, that seems a little contrary to the real meaning that we all try and find in that season.
I think this year more than ever, we need to account for the fact that people in our lives may be struggling and there may be some unspoken pain. And now is a good time to reevaluate your family gift giving policy, because there are people in your extended family who are struggling and they just don't want to tell you. And there are people in your family who are struggling and they don't actually realize they're struggling. And you could be doing them a huge favor by taking that pressure off of them. For what it's worth, and believe me, this comment's worth nothing. I've been a proponent for a very long time within my own extended family. I said our, like we're related, but we're not. My own extended family, like I don't buy me anything. Like I don't want anything, primarily because I'm picky and I don't want to return it. But I don't know, Dame. I think there's so many people that are going to be in pain this holiday season. Think about this. Different churches and whatnot adopt families for Christmas, and the gift giving trees and all these sorts of things. I saw something the other day. 50 million people in the United States are receiving food assistance right now. So what are those gift giving trees looking like? And I know it's early. I mean, it's mid-September and we're in this conversation, but I think it's going to be a wild holiday season. And I'm almost nervous that if retailers are able to do normal numbers, that would actually make me sad.
I was just about to say, if we're having this conversation now, retailers have been talking about it for 3, 4, 6 months at this point, trying to figure out how they're going to deal with the ramifications, because this is where they make the bank. This is where they have a good year or not. And if people can't spend money or shouldn't spend money and don't, they're in trouble. And so they're going to be throwing everything they can at the wall to try and tempt every dollar out of your wallet that they can in order to make a good year happen for them. So it's going to be really challenging this winter for a number of families to do the financially right thing and just keep things conservative this year with your gift giving.
I think families got to start having that conversation now to try to find what's the best way as a family we can find meaning in this holiday season, to find that comfort that we always look for that doesn't involve hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of exchanged gifts. Jameson, who's watching along on Facebook, brings up a point I was about to bring up. There's a lot of retailers that have already said they're closing for Thanksgiving and Black Friday this year. Simon Malls announced that they're staying closed for Thanksgiving. I believe Home Depot, I don't want to start naming these because I don't want to be wrong, but I know Simon Mall had a policy around that. I think back to retailers for a second, any retailer that does not have a robust e-commerce plan in place right now for year end better be working 24 hours a day to do it, because I think brick and mortar retailers, especially small gift shops, oh man, I'm getting upset. I shouldn't have done this.
The local stores that kind of give your hometown the little bit of culture that it may have, I'm feeling bad for them already. I mean, if you are in a position where you can spend a little bit of money on gifts this year, it is a fantastic time to try and figure out how to spend that money locally, because those people are going to need it and your town's going to need it. So look local first, for sure. I mean, we often joke that every day seems like it's got a name after Thanksgiving, Black Friday and Small Business Saturday, and going, think local.
Dame, I know that I've taken us into a dark place with this segment, but I'm going to try to redeem myself by possibly publicly announcing here today that I'm considering buying you a share of a racehorse this year for Christmas so that you may benefit from its procreation. Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week and the news right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. That was a pretty smooth transition into the end, I got to admit.
That was nice. I looked at the clock and thought I really stuck it to you there, but I'm glad you were able to be a professional and fix my problems.
You gave me plenty of time. You gave me plenty of time. That's a good point Levi makes. More time means more ability to make gifts for someone. But you look at situations like my mom. My mom, she gets so much enjoyment out of giving gifts. Like she loves to give gifts. Like, and whatever financial realities on the other side of that gift giving pales in comparison to the joy that she receives from giving gifts. And I think there's a lot of people like that. Oh my God, Levi, I'm not putting that comment up. Yes, I am. Oh, Levi. That was terrible. It was great. Good job. Okay. I got to reset the segment. Hold on, Dave.
That should be good.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. All right. I just had to set up the screen share.
Oh, that's right.
Can't show it to anyone yet. Okay. Starting the segment in 3. Can you pull up a bunch of current events? Can you just have them on your window?
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't know how nimble I'm going to be here.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, the BWOM, right here on the Pete the Planner Show, is the Comet Nightstand. The Comet Nightstand. Here's what that means, Dame. It means that people can purchase a nightstand that's got all sorts of stuff involved with it. Once reserved for nothing more than a book and a drink, nightstands have become catch-alls for everything from gadgets and remotes to bedroom essentials. The Comet acknowledges this and packs in features to meet modern demands. It has an integrated touchscreen on top to control common smart home features, as well as a QI-enabled wireless charging top surface. Rotate the top over, and you'll find a split chamber with an internal cooler for beverages on one side and a storage area on the other. Motion sense activated ambient lighting makes stubbed toes a thing of the past. And built-in Bluetooth speakers let you play music in the bedroom without it looking like a recording studio. So, Dame, there you have it. The Comet Nightstand. Thoughts?
Pointless?
Yes, absolutely pointless. And do you know how much it's going to cost you to be pointless?
$349.
That's a really good guess. You're wrong. $499. $499 is the answer. Yeah, why do you need a cooler next to your bed? I don't get it. Unless you put like pillowcases in there so you always have a cold pillow. Oh, that's genius.
That's not bad.
Dame, this week in current events, there's a lot going on in the financial world this week. And most of the current events that our team put together for this week, they're not great, including Dave & Buster's sinks 26% this week on bankruptcy threat. Dame, it's really hard to go play Pop-A-Shot and skee ball with your kids when, well, that area seems ripe for the spread of a pandemic, no?
This is a business that was destined to suffer in times of pandemic. You can't take your kids, even as bad as you might want to enjoy that $10 domestic draft at the bar while your kids are off running around. Just not going to happen. So yeah, Dave & Buster's, fun place, not a great business model right now.
My son loves Dave & Buster's.
I took TD to Dave & Buster's last time he and I were in Indy, and he doesn't stop asking when we can go back, because as far as he's concerned, it's just on the other side of Fort Wayne. So
In other sad news, and our good friend Gold Star Gale brings this one up, and it's something I've sort of thought about, but I haven't let my mind go there yet. But man, as always, she's right. Americans rack up $45 billion worth of medical debt in collections. And coming out of this period of time where people are losing jobs, losing benefits, their benefits change to a lesser type of care. So then they have more out of pocket costs themselves, which they can't pay. Dame, of all the other emergencies we're dealing with, the medical debt catastrophe of 2020 is well on its way.
When you are faced with some really tough decisions, keep the lights on, pay your hospital bill. You're going to keep the lights on. I mean, it's natural for these types of debts to fall to the bottom of the totem pole when income is limited. So, yeah, you're exactly right. Things change, plans change, coverage changes. You get sick, you get hurt, you got to go get it taken care of, but there's no way to take care to pay for the bill. So it's just another way that Americans are being forced into an absolutely horrible, untenable position. And hopefully there's some kind of solution, some kind of assistance that we can get through some legislative efforts for this, because a lot of these debts are going to absolutely crush families.
I think one of the big challenges going forward, if there is some semblance of relief, just in the way the eviction moratorium creates a degree of relief, Dame, unless there's money on the line from the government to make the other party whole, then is it relief? Because then it's just making it someone else's problem. Jameson's right on Facebook, by the way. We're slipping back into the Pete the Downer show. I know, but it's the reality of the times. That's so true. Dame, I came across a tweet that a tweet thread that I put out in early March, and I wanted to go through it now because it was an attempt to paint the picture of what's going to happen going forward. So this was on March 14th of 2020. Okay. On March 16th was the day most people remember as, oh my God, this is real. Just so you know, Monday, March 16th was the day most people were working from home, and it was all very real. So here's I'm quoting myself, my own Twitter thread here. I hate to do this on a Saturday, but I'm not quite sure people understand how much trouble the economy is in. To begin, all these canceled events lead to canceled hotels, flights, meals, etc. You know this, but you may not realize the tax revenue generated from these things. So not only are workers in the hospitality and travel industry struggling, but so will the municipalities which depend on the tax revenue those industries generate. This means either local governments will have to make giant cuts or go deeper into debt. Additionally, consumer confidence has plummeted. No one is out car shopping, hanging out at the malls, or buying anything other than consumables and homes, by the way, but that is an addendum. This lack of sales tax is also a problem and exacerbates the problem. Hiring and spending freezes have already begun at both small and large businesses as we get closer to new college grads flooding the job market in May. Usually these grads rely on hourly, hospitality or gig economy wages when they can't find work in their area of study. Those jobs and gigs currently do not exist and won't exist for some time. First student loan payments for new college grads are typically due 6 months after graduation. As you can imagine, the math and timing there is a problem. Pension funds and endowments rely heavily on yield from T-bills and corporate bonds, which are currently experiencing brutally low rates. This means pension systems could fail even more than usual, and university endowments could suffer, thus increasing the cost of college. Yes, I'm concerned about the virus and its impact on humanity, but the economic impact of this period in history is still being widely ignored. Buy all the TP you want, yet if you're not spending time putting together a plan for financial preparedness, you're going to get swallowed whole. Dame, that was on March 14th. Holy moly, buddy.
Yeah, you did a nice job with that one. And by nice, I mean horribly accurate.
Okay, I know we're in a downer place right now, and we have 2 minutes left in the show, but I do, and you and I have not got to talk much this week, which is actually the worst part of my week. You and I have talked once prior to this show today, which makes me upset. That's my fault, by the way. Where are you on this November-December economy catastrophe thing? Do you buy my theory? Do you understand my theory?
I think so.
Okay.
I tend to agree with you that things are going to get really tight. Like we saw this again the beginning when this all started in March, that there's a group of people largely untouched, but a bigger group of people that really felt it. Unfortunately, that's going to replay itself the way I see it coming in November, December, January, February. There's still going to be a group of people that are going to kind of skate through this relatively unscathed, but the same people that just took it in the chops earlier this year, it's going to happen all over again, and they are going to get it twice in a 12-month period.
I do have a small piece of good news. Maybe it's not news. It's just a prediction. I do think, whereas the last several weeks, I thought there's no way there's going to be another stimulus bill. I've gone back the other way. I think there will be a degree of stimulus. So whether it helps the average family afford to receive another $3,400, I don't really know. But part of that stimulus plan, if it does happen, will include additional enhanced unemployment benefits, which makes me feel really good for the people suffering. Most of my apprehension about the economy in November, December revolve around the election, not about who gets elected. And I don't want to say I don't care about that one way or the other, but I don't think that impacts where the market goes. I think it's going to be the uncertainty of who the winner is. That is not great for the market or the economy or anything in general. Let's end the show with something positive. Damien, on my smart scale that gives me all the stats about myself, it now says I'm a year younger than it said I was last week, but it still has me a year older than I actually am. That's all we have time for this show and this week. I'm Pete the Planner. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Sorry. We were having an exec meeting yesterday, and Dave, we were talking about, it's like, there's some challenging stuff going on right now. And there's a lot of pressure to not feel it or not let it get you down. But the reality is we're in the worst economy in 100 years. It's going to suck. Okay. And so it's okay to just live in the suck a little bit.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to say the least. And that feels icky just saying unfortunate, because it's way more than just unfortunate for some people.
Yeah, it's weird. I definitely also feel from a mental health standpoint, I should say rather, I feel like we're going through another trough. I feel like where people are heading back the other direction, not as they, got comfortable with how it is now, or I don't know. I feel like a mood shift is amongst us, at least in my circle of friends and colleagues. It feels like the mood is dipped again.
Well, we're doing everything we can with our show to make sure that everything stays high and people are positive.
Well, hey, everybody. Damien and I we have other things to do today. I mean, it's not that we don't want to hang out with you. I need to go pick up our mail, which I do every Friday. I go to the post office, which are nice enough to hold it for me. I feel like there was a postal story. A woman recognized me in the post office, a postal worker, because our mail says Pete the Planner on it. Some of it does.
Sure.
And she said, this was early on, by the way, in the pandemic. And she said, "Oh, I watched you on Fox 59. She's like, "I didn't recognize you. You look bigger." And I was like, well, I've eaten several homemade pizzas today.
Your buddy's leaving.
Oh, my good. Okay. So for anyone that cares about these sorts of things like I do. So local news, radio, more specifically TV and newspaper, the celebrities in your hometown, and most hometowns, if you don't live in an entertainment town, are really just the local news people. They just are. Everyone knows who they are. You see them out. It's like, oh, there's Scott Swan. And by the way, Scott Swan's a very nice guy. The interesting thing about what I know about news people, and I know a ton of them because of the work I do, most of them happen to be the nicest people you've ever met in your entire life. I mean, truly. And I can't go too deep into this because then it turns into me just dropping names, and that's not where we're going with this. But my good friend, Ray Cortopassi, who's been in the Indianapolis market for forever, he just got a major job at WGN in Chicago, and he grew up in Chicago. So he's leaving the #1 ranked morning show in Indiana in Indianapolis, vis-a-vis Indiana, and to go chase his dream job. And I'm so excited for him, but equally as sad because he's such a great guy. It's tough. I actually, Dame, I thought about trying to have him on the show here in the next couple of weeks just to say goodbye to him and to get his perspective on a few things. But that's always weird when news people leave the business. You know, I don't want to go further because it just turns into name dropping, and then I'd hate myself even more today. So we're not going to do that.
It's weird when like somebody leaves your market and then you see them in somebody else's market, and it seems odd to me. It's like, I remember you and I know who you are, but I don't get to see you anymore. It's just weird.
When I used to travel, when I'd go to a city that a friend of mine, like it's usually a younger reporter who's making their way up the ranks. Like a reporter would leave the city and then go work in that station. And then I get to watch them that morning when I'm in a silly hotel room. That's the nice part of being on the road, is seeing old friends that way. And you actually keep up with some of those connections. But anyway, enough of all this. Hey, we love you guys. We always are wishing the best for you. Thanks for being part of the community here. Keep checking in on your friends and your family in terms of where their mental health is right now. Take a look in the mirror and indulge in taking care of your own mental health right now. There's no shame in not being at your best on a day-to-day basis, because this is a tough time. And I think if you look at it through that lens and you say, look, this is as tough as it gets in 100 years, I need to extend myself some grace. Dame and I both want you to do that. Your mental health is worth protecting, even in lieu of your financial lives at times. So have a great weekend. We will see you here next week. Enjoy a beverage on us tonight. By on us, I mean, just think about it, but you have to pay for it.